Okay. It's so.
Recording in progress.
I see it is 1:30, time to start. I see Ms. Hay is here. Does that constitute a
Yes, sir.
quorum? So we have a quorum, Ms. Cushenberry?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, and if someone can put the schedule. where
Getting
we-
it. Give me a second. I'm trying to get it up now.
Not a problem. Thank you, ma'am.
Trying to get technology to go. Oh, let's see. Share.
You got a possibility of it working as long as I'm not involved, so you're safe.
Let me do. It's gonna still be anything like that. Okay. I have it pulled up. Okay. I'll be trying to get to it. Okay, it's good. It's good. All right, can you see it?
I can. So
Okay.
with that, 1 second. It is 1:30 p.m. And we'll call this 1:32 actually. We'll call the meeting to order, and if you'll join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, it will be appreciated. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Is there a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Hay, aye.
Thank you, Ms. Hay. Madam Cushenberry, are there any public comments?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, item number 2, is there a motion for approval of the October 9th, 2025 committee meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Hay, aye.
Thank you, Ms. Hay. Okay. Moving right along, Madam CFO, Board of Education monthly budget report. Will you be handling that, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's all yours.
All right. So, in your packet is a, report as of October 31st, 2025. This is the standard report, of the Board of Education, budget versus actuals through the end of the last month. And the only notable item really, I would say is the organization membership and dues on page 3, which is $50,000, $50,000. And that is a once per year payment to the School Board Association. It's for membership dues, professional development, training, and an online portal for the Board of Ed and district policies. So it's the portal that holds all of our policies on the website. Other than that, everything else is in line with prior years and with the budget. So I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
Any questions or comments, insights, Ms. Hay?
Not at this time.
Okay, Madam CFO, I would just like to speak to the organizational membership dues. With membership on the 16-member board for the South Carolina School Board Association, I think the district has begun to receive even more value for that membership. One of the things that has occurred is learning from other districts. As part of my role as a regional director for Region 1, I'm going to places, interacting with other superintendents and board chairs and boards, and looking at how to best import those types of ahas moments that I see back and share with the school district. So that's one of the things that has already occurred. We've been able to also, through the legislative committee and the board, and also with Colonel Geyer going to Columbia to make a presentation, approval for one of the resolutions that will be considered at the December 6th, 7th advocacy meeting. So that's something that, I think we collectively can be proud of in exchange for the membership fee. The second thing, we've begun regional advocacy meetings. We had one last year at Whale Branch Middle School, which was very insightful, and thanks to those members from Jasper and Beaufort and other counties that attended that. And that has enabled us to actually, at this most recent regional advocacy meeting in Walterboro, where Mr. Ney participated and attended, Colonel Geyer participated and attended, and Colonel Geyer was able to share how Beaufort County School District has been able to win 2 referenda with, I think, 69 and then 72% passage, where previously we had failed on 2 with less than 30% approval rating. And Colonel Geyer we've submitted for him to be approved, and it seems absolutely very imminent that he will be one of the presenters at the upcoming advocacy and delegate assembly that will be taking place in December. The other thing that becomes available to us is that there are best practices that we're looking at importing and trying to connect, and such as some of you, hopefully everyone's heard about our emerging effort in terms of synchronizing with Savannah River Nuclear Solutions about some of the technological programs that they have. They've been connected with the Instructional Services Department through the superintendent. So a lot of things are beginning to happen as a result of some of these relationships, and I just wanted everyone to have insights to that. So I'll stand down and ask if there are any other comments on what's been covered so far. Hearing none, may we proceed, Madam CFO?
Yes, sir. The next item is the transparency report for the month of September 2025. This is the new consolidated report with a link to the original report that is on our website. And so we're pleased to present this report identifying expenditures and actually on a comparative basis with those of expenditures in September 2024. So we have some major analysis of major spending areas and visualizations to enhance the understanding of some of the financial data and services. So we are providing a list of contracts first, as required by Operational Expectations 6. A list of contracts of 100,000 and up are completed in September. There are 6 items listed. 3 of them are construction related with Thompson Turner. The Bud Group is custodial, Interstate Premier is custodial, and ABM Industrial is also custodial, I believe, as well. Yes. That one, well, actually if it's a contract renewal, it would be custodial. Yes. And so the next slide is a graphic of expenditures by fund. And as usual, in the recent term, capital projects are at the highest level of spending of any fund in the district, and that's $12.4 million. That's due to the 2023 referendum finishing out the 2019 referendum and the ongoing 8% projects. The general fund comes in a close second with $10 million of spending. And this is in our budget, based on, budgetary spending, of a total budget of about $377 million for this year. And then, as usual, our federal and state revenues coming in, with some small grant allocations, and then food service, allocations, there as well. A little bit of student activities and a small spattering of other smaller funding sources that the district has. So, again, general and capital were the primary expenditures, and special revenue declined this year as compared to the prior year because of the sunset of ESSER funds in the previous year. So we had, in the first quarter last year, we had ESSER, we were finalizing our spending in ESSER funds, and then those ended by the end of the first quarter. So, so comparatively, that will decline. On the next slide, we're on top 25 expenditures by category of the transparency report. So building and finishes includes the top amount of construction or spending. It includes construction, HVAC repairs. There were some energy costs in there as well. So I'm sorry, building and finishes is separate from HVAC. Then we have food services, which is approximately the amount we spend every month, about $1 million in salaries, wages, and the contracted services. Transits are just transfers in between funds. Energy is about $1 million, and so on. So there's a number of items there. You'll see most of them are standard expenditures for the district on a monthly basis. And then the next slide is the next visualization is the top 10 program expenditures. As we had in the prior month, facilities, acquisition and construction, or building and finishes is the main category of spending at $12.4 million. And next in line is the operations and maintenance category. So that would include custodial, food service, technology, all of those, maintenance as well. And those, so the major services, many of which are contracted out for the district. Then food service is the next area. And then payments to the charter school are in the medium blue color of about $973,000 per month. Technology, and then security, improvement of instruction, and then you have instructional programs with those are specifically supplies and materials, so non-salary related accounts are at the bottom there. So.
Okay.
The final graph is the expenditures that exceeded 100,000, and there are a couple of peaks in those, and that would be some large spending, but the spending is typically in those three areas the same each year. It's peaking. Imbicon construction, PIBA insurance, which we're going to talk a little bit about later, and Thompson Turner construction. So two of those are construction contractors working on referendum projects at this time. Not much fluctuation between years, but typically any fluctuation is due to the timing of payment or potentially another factor, which I think we'll talk about just in just a few minutes.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll stop there for a moment, or I'll pause and or
Ms. Hay, you have any questions, comments, or insights, ma'am?
No, well, I didn't know when you wanted us to discuss the drilling down portion.
Madam CFO?
I'm ready if you are.
Okay.
Yes,
So one of the areas, as I was looking at this report, on page, I'm going to take it back sort of to the beginning. On page 2, we see that the general fund and the capital funds are clearly where our largest spends are. So that catches people's attention when they're, sifting through this information. Then we look at page 3, which Mrs. Crosby's already talked about, and I combed through page 4, but then I was intrigued by the graph on so it's showing up for me as page 5, but I believe it's your slide 6, this one that you're currently on, right there above, Robin, please. That one. Because it shows up in the deck for me as 5, but then there's a 6 in the bottom left-hand corner. But regardless, so we see that construction obviously has the largest spend. And then after that, again, it's Thompson Turner Construction. And I also was caught by PIBA Insurance, which is why Ms. Crosby alluded to that we were going to discuss that further, because the PIBA insurance is actually one of our larger items at $2.5 million per year, which it stays pretty steady between 2024 and 2025. So that was of interest to me because the numbers are so close year over year. And then I just wanted to say, for public consumption purposes, if someone were to be combing through this data and having questions that perhaps they couldn't find on the district site, or maybe they didn't want to bother anyone emailing, because I know a lot of constituents and parents feel that way, like they're not sure who to reach out to ask questions. I did a fun little experiment and pulled up ChatGPT for fun. But Microsoft also has its version of AI and so on and so forth. But out of curiosity, I asked AI models, where does the funding for PIBA insurance come from in the state of South Carolina? Which it returned the correct answer. It comes from our general fund. But even if you did not know that and you had been curious, this is why I went back to referenced page 3, was that if you're ever curious as a constituent, a parent, anything, a grandparent, as to what those funds cover, for example, the general and the capital funds, if you put in an AI model, regardless, pick your favorite, and you ask the question properly with all the given information, for example, in the state of South Carolina, what is covered by the general fund for a school district? It will give you a complete rundown of costs that can fall into that pot of money. Same is true of a capital fund. So for example, if you're curious, hey, we're spending $2.5 million a year on PIBA insurance, what fund does that typically come out of in the state of South Carolina? You can put that into an AI model as well, and it comes right back with the proper, and it's always good to cross-reference, right, your information that you're getting from AI. But in this specific instance, it was completely accurate. So I found all of that interesting. And I know Ms. Crosby has more to say on this because she and I had a discussion about it. So I will turn it back over.
Madam CFO, would you like to opine on what's been said, the insights gained and the collaboration?
Yes. So the highlighted category, so the board at the last meeting requested to highlight one particular area of spending, and Ms. Hay and I had a conversation. She requested, how should we go about that? And so we suggested to take the previous month's or the current month's transparency report that we're providing today, take some item that has some kind of notable, difference, say that it has a high level of spending, or it has a big change from last year, or something, or something of that effect. So PIBA insurance, health insurance stuck out in this report. So we highlighted that today and provided some information for you. And we're calling it I'm going to call this a focus review. I think that was a item that was tagged as that by Ms. Yinger, who helped prepare this report. And so if I may just go quickly to the graph that's at the page of the PIBA expenditure, which is another document, a separate document that I sent the board and the committee.
Yeah, it's a multi-page. This title is Focus Review PIBA Expenditures.
Right.
So I'll talk for a moment while Ms. Cushenberry is bringing that up.
Okay.
So PIBA stands for the Public Employee Benefits Administration. It's a state agency that manages insurance and retirement plans for South Carolina, the South Carolina retirement system for the public workforce, including employees of public school districts. And in partnership with the state's public employers, PIBA helps to ensure that public employers like school districts can offer their employees affordable insurance coverage and is equitable to all stakeholders. So I think that was something that's very current, kind of in the minds of everyone right now, with things looming in the political nature, that a lot about affordable insurance. So this is something that provides employees of school districts a very affordable, cost-effective measure where we pay a portion of the premium, and then the school district matches. We as individual employees pay a premium, and then the school district matches. And those that match amount does typically increase each year. And so, so today we're not talking about retirement, just talking about health insurance, but just know that PIBA manages both programs for the district. So although general fund is the primary funding source for health insurance, it is not entirely the funding source because our health insurance the expenditures follow the employee and their funding source. So 92% of our expenditures are paid from the general fund, but about 8% follow the employees who are paid with IDEA, Title I, and other special revenue funds as well. So I just want to make a note that the expenditure follows the employee and their funding source. The average premium increase for 25-26 was 19.8%. So that was a pretty sizable increase. But increases, fortunately, don't take effect for us until January. So we have half a year to continue on with the budget of one of the increase from the prior year, or just as flat from the spring to the fall. And then, but we do have to budget for half of any known increases that will start and take effect in January. So for that, we typically cut them in half, that percentage of increase, and that is what we apply to January and apply to the budget to increase for the next year. So that's just some background knowledge as we prepare, getting ready to start with the next year's budget. That's one of the budgeting tools that we use to make sure we're budgeting accurately. And expenditures, I've noted for the last 3 years in fiscal year 24, we were $22.7 million. FY 25 is $24.4 million, and FY 26 was $26.3 million. This is the budgeted amount because the actuals won't. Or may lag behind a month or so. And so we actually had a 7.8% increase from year to year in the budgetary number. So, and also notable, we chose this number, because it is one of the largest expenditures in this budget. 26 million of 377 million is 7% of the entire budget. So it is a pretty significant cost to the district. that we pay for the benefit of our employees, and it's a great benefit. Then we have a graph that illustrates the payments over the last 2 years, and we highlight normal fluctuations and those fluctuations result in several things. It could be a billing cycle change. It could be a change in staffing levels, or adjustment in benefit plans. So those are ebbing and flowing all year long as people come and go from the district. And notably, trends often occur high payments at the start of the school year. So as you can see from the graph, first of all, you see January there. So January is different in 25 versus 24, in the prior year, because we happen to have made a payment on January 3rd and one on January 25th. So the February payment was paid one day into January. So it will show on the graphic that it doubled up, and you'll see it fall back down in February. So if it had been made one day later, these would have been equal on both months. Relatively steady for those through June. And then June, there is no, we do not withhold health insurance in the month of June because we divide premiums over 24 paychecks, which end in May. So therefore, there is no June expenditure that is booked in our financial statements, but that we catch up in July. Actually, and the reason for that, there's no payment in June is because we prepay every year. And you see that in the July payment here, it's double what it normally is because we make the July payment and we pay the June pay. We are required by PIBA to pay a prepaid June 2026 payment as well. So we're making one payment and then an advance of the following June each year. So that is a requirement of the PIBA organization. So that just brings some highlights into one of the highest level of expenditures that we have in the district, and provides just some in-depth information and some graphic analysis of that. So I'm going to stop there and see if you all have any questions.
Ms. Cushenberry, I am sort of quite a ways from my camera on my laptop, so I can't. Are other board members there?
Colonel Guyer is here.
Okay, all right. So Ms. Hay, you have any comments, and then we'll inquire of Colonel Guyer and any other board members that are there.
Ms. Frazier
I
is
don't
also.
have any comments.
Okay. Did you say Ms. Frazier is here?
She's also online.
Ms. Frazier, you have any comments, questions, or insights, ma'am?
No comments. Yeah.
No comments. Colonel Guyer, welcome.
Thank you. This is fantastic. This is exactly the intent that I believe you as the chair asked for, to go in and look at the specifics, drill down in one particular high impact area. And I had no idea that the funding went in this kind of a cycle. Very, very informative. And this is also something that we should make sure that our employees understand, that the benefit that they get from this, when you go into the regular labor market and you negotiate for your salary, you are very seldom going to find any kind of expense in that salary for healthcare and others. They may match somewhat. Most of the time for retirement and so on, they just say, if you will give you up to a $2,000, $4,000 matching, and that's it. You don't match it. You only match it with 1,000. We only give you 1,000. And they will then also give you different health plans with different kinds of exemptions and so on. So what we provide our employees is not the same as what the normal job market applies to their employees. And so while we have a base pay of $60,000 for our brand new teachers, when you look at the full impact of what the district pays to them, for them, it's in the $90,000 range. And a couple years ago, Alice Walton published that out to all the employees, showing that we need to do that every year, because we need to show that. And this, for a board member to see how this goes, is absolutely superb. Because been on here 7 years in this committee, I had no idea of the balancing act that the district finance office has to do to maintain this program. And it is in fact a balancing act to see when you take these payments out at the right time for the right reasons. So I want to say kudos both to the finance department, but also to the chair saying, let's drill down on one topic every month. And you picked the right one for the first one. And I'm looking forward to next month's.
Mr. Smith is also,
Hello, Mr.
I'm sorry.
Smith. Mr. Smith is there in the room?
No, he's online.
Okay, Mr. Smith, you have any comments, insights, sir?
He's muted.
Okay. I'd like to follow up on the chair / colonel's comments. One of the things I learned in a prior committee with him is how he drilled down. Having always reviewed financial reports, that was the way he drills was very new. And so this is an extension of his methodology, which always was able to highlight areas that may want to take a look at. And so I'd also like to compliment Ms. Hay for coming in and volunteering to be the first one out of the block, so to speak, and taking this particular area on in conjunction and agreement with our Madam CFO. And I also agree with the Colonel in terms of how do we package that. So what I took down as an action item is would like the Finance Committee to confer with Ms. Walton and see if we can get an update on the cost value presentation of the PIBA and how that might compare, very similar to what you did with operations when we were looking at contractor and in or out and the benefits that accrued to those two different options. That was very informative. The second action item I'd like to request, if possible, is if our CFO and her team and Ms. Hay will create a tutorial about how she actually drilled down with multiple options of AI platforms so that people know we're not prejudicial to anyone, and show how she was able to unearth information as well and the methodology that she used, because we're going to want other committee members and board members to also step up and volunteer to take on a particular topic, because that's sort of learning. And as the technophobe in the whole district, I'll have to try to catch up with everyone else. But if that's okay with the people named, we'll archive that as an action item. Comments? Hearing none, Madam CFO, is that okay with you, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Hay, that okay with you, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Outstanding, well done. All right, on the document itself on page 8 of the document that we just covered, under other notable vendors, I looked at CDW, LLC, and Culinary Depot, but I also looked at a notable decrease reflecting substitute billing for August and September. So does the fact that we had more of our teacher positions filled, is that a part of that? Seems like it would be the inverse. I'm just trying to understand. I guess we paid less for substitute teachers. Is that it?
If you recall, this year we moved, this is substitute teachers, that's the expenditure, the vendor for, and it's otherwise known as ESS. And so this year, as you recall, we moved the full-time employees, teacher assistants, back in-house, and they are now paid on salaries and benefits and no longer paid through our contractors. So that is probably the most notable decrease. Reason for the decrease that we have is that I think it was almost 200 employees that were onboarded this in the summer for this school year that were our teacher assistants, special education assistants, and so on.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from committee members or board members? Okay, hearing none, let me just, if I may, clarify my humble request to Ms. CFO Crosby and Ms. Hay. If you can work together to create that tutorial and what was uncovered here through the drill down, at a future board meeting, we'd like to share your efforts and the output. So that deserves recognition. And so then we'll have another committee member, hopefully next month. We'll work with the CFO to choose a topic, and we'll accept the learning that occurs from that partnership, if that's okay with both Ms. Hay and Mrs. Crosby. Is that good?
Sure.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Madam CFO, deferring to you, ma'am. Moving ahead.
The next item is the first quarter financial report for fiscal year 26. So although I didn't mention, but we are right in the middle, right at the end of our audit period. So we're frantically working on finishing that up by hopefully next Monday or Tuesday. So that has been our focus this week, but the first quarter is also underway and has completed as of September 30th. So local property tax collections are right on the mark. The report at 5.5 million, just a little down from the prior year, but we did have we had an increase last year. So state revenues are $15.8 million or 11.7%, slightly down from 12% in the prior year due to decreased enrollment. Expenditures as of the end of the quarter are 66 million, or about 17.6% of the prior year of the budget, and almost right on the mark with prior year expenditures. Salaries and benefits are reduced in some areas. If you may have looked at the details, I saw there were some declines from one year to the next in enrollment and in salaries. And the reason for that, there was only 5 paydays that were expended in fiscal year 26. The very first paycheck in July was actually had a pay period ending in June. So we accrued that first payroll of the quarter back. So we only have 5 paychecks instead of the normal 6. So from the accounting perspective, that's something that we deal with each year. We should not have that in any future quarters going forward for the fiscal year. So that you may have noticed some slight declines in the salaries and benefits when we would have normally had an increase because of pay increases. Also, special revenue funds Last year in the first quarter, we were finalizing our expenditures for the ESSER program, ESSER funds. So that we had our last set of expenditures in the first quarter of last year, and then everything was claimed and we finished. So this year, as we compare, our spending is a little lower as a result of that. And also, we had some changes in the MSAP grant program. We have a second program this year on the south side of the county, and so we have additional expenditures there. Look, in debt service fund, we have property tax collections that are $2.1 million. So as you can see, 2.1 is relatively very small at this time of year. That will pick up in December. Capital projects, we have the 2019 projects are 99.8% encumbered. There's just a few minor things, and as some of the amendments and the contracts are closing, some dollars are coming back, and the board was able to do the metal detectors with the use of some of those funds as well. Referendum projects for 2023 are 42% paid and encumbered as of the end of September. And that concludes the summary of the report. We still hope in the future to make this report as a little simpler and easier to follow, maybe some more graphic representations. But time is of the essence right now with other projects such as the audit. So that will be a future project for us that we look forward to. With that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Ms. Hay?
I do not have any. Thank you.
Ms. Frazier? While Ms. Frazier is hopefully unmuting hers, I see Mr. Smith. Do you have any comments or insights, sir?
No, I'll just thank you for the information, and it was definitely helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Colonel Geyer?
Yes, sir. Could you turn to page 23, please?
Yep.
Robin's scrolling up now. There it is. This is a bird in my saddle. It has been for years. Student activities fund balance. This is funds collected by the schools, generally from concession stands, fundraising, and other things. And we still have Hilton High School with $579,938. And you go down to Bluffton, it's $498,000. May River, $332,000. Buford High, $233,000. Whale Branch, $98,000, and Battery Creek, $70,000. Now, they use this money for the students, for programs, for uniforms and other things. And I've said this a number of times. I have a real problem with that kind of balances being handled or being set there, just gathering interest and not providing to students, especially in our two schools, Hilton Head High School and Bluffton High School. You can't tell me that I can't go down to that school and ask those students, what would you like that you don't have? And I'm sure they could tell me. And I don't understand why these schools are carrying balances like that. They're not getting paid interest. The district is, but you don't see it. So I asked last quarter about having that being brought up to them, and I don't see any difference. Well, I'm going to be talking to the full board about this, and maybe we need to be a little more specific. Spend it or lose it. And we can give it to other schools that don't have that kind of balance for their needs, because obviously they've been taking care of their students better than Hilton Head and Bluffton High. So again, this is a burr under my saddle, and I'm not seeing anything happening. So, end of editorial comments.
Any other comments and any other comments? I have some comment. Colonel, if you heard me chuckle when you said page 23, because I highlighted that one as well, but I'll defer to other comments that people may have before I weigh in, if that's okay.
Mr. Smith has his hand.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
One of my questions would be what all can this money be spent on? Because this has definitely have been a conversation that has taken place for several years now. What all, if someone could tell us, or Ms. Crosby could tell us what all this money could be spent on? And I just don't want to. I have an idea, but I just don't want to assume that I'm right. Could you enlighten me a little bit and tell us what this money could be spent on?
Yes, sir. So these funds are in very specific categories, and they're standardized across the high schools, middle schools, elementary schools. Of course, an elementary school will not have the same accounts that a high school would. So in a high school in particular, which this is mostly, and that balances are higher in the high schools, would be every club in the school would have an individual account. The athletic director would have an account. Any fundraising from any sport will have its own account for its specific fundraising going to that. Athletic directors would spend funds on game officials or any support for any of the teams with regard to uniforms or extra warm-ups or equipment, extra softballs, baseballs, footballs, any of those types of things. There is also funding for instructional clubs or groups like FBLA or DECA or any of the instructional type groups, clubs that the school would have. Rentals, if a school has a performing arts center, they would have the revenue coming in generated at the gate would go into a performing arts center that would be used for lighting replacements, other effects that the school needs in that particular area. So they're really designated for a particular purpose for the most part. Then there are some that are not as specific as to the level, to the area of spending. So they're more generic, like parking fees. The technology usage fees come in and go out to the district level. So those don't stay there. But there may be lost textbook fees and that sort of thing. So some can be moved around. Others are really restricted you wouldn't want to take the cheerleading money and hand it to the football team, that sort of thing. But you could take interest income or rentals and use those for other needs of the school. So that's in a nutshell what the use of the funds is for.
Thank you. And so basically, even though it may give us a large amount, some of this money could be earmarked for certain things, if I'm understanding you correctly as well. So even if they may have $300,000 in there, the football team could have earmarked $100,000 towards them, or certain however that may look. Is that correct?
They could have something earmarked. For example, they may have a national championship coming up, like a competition, state or national competition. So a group like DECA could be saving up and fundraising for that. Cheerleading may be going to a competition and so on. There could be things that are specific to that group that are already earmarked for particular purposes. There are others that may not be. And those are the areas that could target to the spend down program with the schools.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, sir. Mrs. Frazier noted, raised her hand, and then Ms. Hay raised her hand. Ms. Frazier, do you want to state what your question was, ma'am?
She has in the comments, could this topic be added to the agenda for discussion during the work session next Friday?
No, I can't, I don't have enough time to do that in the audit. I can't manage that.
Well,
Sounds good.
not even just for us to have a discussion to remember to ask for, because every time we have this meeting and see it, the same question comes up. So we need to put it on the back of our minds that say we need to delve in deeper for this so it doesn't come up every meeting.
Yeah, so it will be captured in the comments from this meeting. And as hopefully people have noted, we try to be very diligent about addressing issues sequentially as they are raised. And the drill down is an example of that. So your concern is noted and will be honored.
And can we add it to future topics when that comes up?
Yeah, whenever that comes up, absolutely.
Thank you.
I've added it for future topics for the general board.
Awesome. Thank you.
Superb. Ms. Hay, yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. My other question, which is similar in the total drill down theme of today's meeting, if you will, is asking Ms. Crosby if we are given, as she was giving all those great examples, like you don't want to take money from a cheerleading squad and give it to the football team, so on and so forth. I was curious if the schools are required to report to the district, AKA like Mrs. Crosby's department, where those funds sit, because in the chat I had offered, I'll call the principal of Hilton Head High School right after this, but I'm just curious if we have any insight into where the bulk of that money is sitting, because it could be, 20 different clubs or entities with small amounts that just add up to a larger amount. They could have goals in mind that they're working toward financially to spend something on, but they haven't hit those goals yet. If there's a piece of equipment they need or something, I'm just curious, because it would be interesting if 90% of those funds is sitting with one club, team, class, grade, so on and so forth. I'd just be a little more curious about the makeup of where those funds sit instead of going at a use it or lose it, which I completely understand the mindset of as well, because we don't want money just sitting around. However, like I said, I'm just curious if we have any more insight so we know why it could be sitting there. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good point. Madam CFO, what would be your recommendation when to sequence this and how to possibly do another drill down? I don't know if Ms. Hay would be willing to step up again, but some committee member and potentially board member might be interested in helping do this. But we don't want to compromise the audit at this point in time. So how much time would you need to complete the audit? And then hopefully tee this up, not hopefully, and we would humbly request you tee this up so that we can see what options there are with definition as to what are the constraints on the utilization of those dollars by group or by, sub-organization within the school. Are they movable? Those types of things, that movable at board discretion or what have you, or encouragement to the superintendent to come up with something that might help produce more upside for the school district. And you can take your time to think about that, but if you have a top of your mind, reply right now. We're open to that as well, ma'am.
I do have a reply. I've actually been working on this quite a lot, but I'm not to the point that I need to be, but it's due to other workload constraints. So I have personally spoken with several of the high school principals, as has Dr. Rodriguez, about this very topic, because I brought this report to the senior staff about 2 weeks ago, and let everyone on senior staff see visibly what the balances of our schools are. So that has been communicated and school and the senior staff member are well aware, so that if things are requested, for example, a new piece of equipment at a school, we could say, no, you have the funding to pay for it yourselves. So instead of additional things, requests coming into the district office for us finding other sources of funds for, they can fund these things themselves. And it's very important for particularly the facilities office to know that these funds are here and can be utilized, and those should be used first. So we've had conversations. I have physically showed this report to Mr. Shidrick at Hilton High School on Tuesday night at the board meeting, and let him know that this is something that's very passionately talked about at the board meetings, and that he needs to prepare a spend down plan. And I have actually gone on AI and created a request to the principals to how to spend down the funds. And I have monitored the values in each of the categories in every one of the, at least 5 of these schools, any that are over $200,000, to see what areas, and they're all different. Some have it in parking fees, some have it in other areas. And it's something that we can look at, but it is unique to the school. So there's been an enormous amount of work done, but I have not delivered the letter because I wanted to speak in person with the principals to help them understand why they're getting a letter, and to why that they're being asked to do what, and that it is an issue, and we need to be able to bring down the balances to a level and not continue to accumulate them. So what I need is just time to get past the audit. I need time to prepare that letter, deliver it to the principals, and get those plans back and have them begin to spend. And I can certainly update the board once I'm done my part of at least delivering the letters. And then, but will have to monitor read everyone, agree to the changes that they're making, and then actually monitor their actions to make sure that they're spending down. So for me, I need a little bit of time from the board to be able to do those things and follow through with that. My workload hasn't yet allowed me to do the last couple of meetings. So I do recognize the issue and have acted on it. I just, it doesn't reflect in the balances today. So I'll stop there.
If I could opine very humbly, ma'am, I think you've done a heck of a lot of work on it. For those who may be wondering, I had no conversation with her on this topic. This has been her own initiative and drive and sense of fairness and more efficient use of our assets, particularly cash. And so kudos to you and your team for doing that. As that conversation goes forward, to Ms. Frazier's point, I think bringing it back to this financial committee, as you have spoken about, Madam CFO, will be very beneficial. The Colonel has been raising this for some time. So I think there's a lot of interest on how can we better utilize these resources. When I actually looked at this report, I looked down at J.J. Davis Early Learning Center. And I'll combine that one, and I'm having trouble seeing it, but I think it says $180. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it has $180. And if there's anything I've learned on this board in the last 3 years, it is how important brain development is in those early stages. And I think that would be a place where hopefully there can be some consideration of maybe capping how much a school might be able to accumulate. And then the district or the board through an OE or a result begins to ask the administration, how can they move it so that we are a 33 school collective rather than individual ships sailing in different ways? We respect what they have to do for their particular school. Love that decentralized authority, but with it comes accountability. And so that may be a way of moving forward. So from where I sit, if the group agrees, we will tee this up once Madam CFO comes back and says, I'm now ready to devote time to this. And so we can move it forward. Is there support for that? Is there opposition to that?
You definitely have support for that. And if she needs any help or like a subcommittee formed, I'm all for that as well.
Fantastic. Okay, well, Madam CFO, if you're okay, you establish the timeline. You have one volunteer, and Ms. Frazier, you're gonna have a high bar, ma'am, if Madam CFO agrees, because Mrs. Hay has really, jumped in and done it. So you're capable and proven in that area as well. So thank you, ma'am.
And I'm willing to help out as well in any way I can as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Madam CFO, you have a second, and I'm sure there'll be others. All right. Ms. Crosby, anything else on this particular report, ma'am?
No, sir.
Well done, I might add. I think everybody shares that point of view. All right, moving right along.
Okay, we have several, 4 administrative rules for you today. As I started these, they just kept snowballing and adding more, more changes to existing ones and adding new OEs that are administrative rules that needed some updating. So the first one is public gifts and donations to schools. It's E6 of our administrative rules. When going through, was reading over an administrative rule and realized that this one in particular did not align with another one. And it did not align either with our existing practices. So this is a superintendent's expectation of the basic structure for donations and how they are approved, either by public or private people and entities that are donating to the school district. You would see these ultimately as a board approval if they were to go over $5,000. OS 7 and district procedures both have a different wording than this current administrative rule. It currently states that it would, okay, so it adds the non-discrimination clause as provided by legal counsel. And 2, it changes the item 3.c, duties of the superintendent, to align with OS 7 and current practice. The regulation should state that the superintendent or his designee must approve donations of 1,000 or more, and the board approves donations of 5,000 or more. Currently, it only states that the superintendent approves 1,000 and more, and it doesn't go any further than that. So it doesn't align with current practice or the board's OS 7. So this is a minor revision, but it just aligns everything and brings us into compliance with our administrative rules. So with that, I'll offer any comments or questions.
Ms. Hay?
I don't have any at this time. Thank you.
Ms. Frazier? Mr. Smith?
Not at the moment.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Smith?
Not at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Crosby, I don't know if this is the one I went through all 4 of them, and one of these documents, it notes a change from the CFO having some authority over this to the Director of Operations. Is this the document? Because I'm having a little challenge seeing it.
This one stated that the superintendent shall approve all gifts, grants, and donations of 1,000 and more, but less than 5,000. But it doesn't list that the board must approve 5,000 or more. So this doesn't have anything to do with the chief of operations.
Yes.
It only, but it excludes the board's authority to approve those gifts over 5,000.
And that exclusion is corrected in the other document that you referred to?
Yes,
Okay.
I have strike through document. Yes, it is correct in OS 7, but it
Corrected.
is not correct in E6. And I'm not sure that it needs to be in both, but as long as it's there, it needs to be accurate.
Okay, so I guess the question I'm sort of muddling over is if there's nothing above the superintendent for the current 5,000, could that conceivably be authorizing a donation of up to $1 million without board oversight?
No, what this does is provides the superintendent or his designee, which is me, to approve anything over $1,000. So we will see anything 5,000 and over, $1 million and over, everything. We see all of it, and as soon as we approve it and see that it's over 5,000, it immediately goes to Ms. Cushenberry to go on the board agenda.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear. Is that also true for the other 3 documents? That level of escalation?
The other 3 documents, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, but
Okay, I thought there was one that actually the CFO was redlined and the chief operations officer was inputted.
that is OS 7. That will be next on the agenda.
Okay, all right. I stand down.
So it's separate.
No problem, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so this is for information only.
Understand.
Administrative change of district policies. So it doesn't require any board approval, but it just aligns with board's current practices.
Okay, so just my opinion. The chief operator, nothing against our current person because he's stellar. No question about ethics, integrity, or any of that. Just the optics of changing from the person who handles the cash and basically ensures that the financial protocols are in place and are very tight. That person no longer provides that level of oversight in OS 7. So that's my concern.
I think that's on OS 7, so we can talk about that one now, if you
Okay.
like.
Yep.
Okay, so OS 7 establishes the superintendent's expectation of a basic structure for seeking sources of revenue for the school district, particularly in the realm of modifying facilities and that sort of thing. So we have an addition of a non-discrimination clause. And the second change is designating the chief operations officer the authority to review and approve building modification requests prior to any fundraising efforts or commencement of work. And 3, establishing that all fundraising efforts online must be approved by the principal in advance, and that electronic fundraising platforms must be approved by the district. So one is the first change is the non-discrimination clause, which is the same for all. The item or section you are mentioning is in it's the new section 5, which is called modification or construction of facilities through use of private funds. Currently, the policy requires the board to review and approve modification requests for construction at schools. So, but the practice is that those requests come through the chief operations officer currently, and that is what we've done for years. But this policy states that the board will review those requests, which come quite frequently, might I add. And so this also, it says, unless the now chief operation officer specifically agrees in advance, the projects must adhere to certain requirements like being fully funded without the US BCSD funds, be fully funded prior to the commencement of work, and be in full compliance with rules, restrict, and OSF. So that's what you were referring to. So this is saying that Mr. Otting's office, Mr. Otting would be responsible for approving any building modifications to a building, and in advance of the work, and that he would have the authority to approve it or deny it. Based on funding, placement, maybe ongoing maintenance costs that would be involved in something, and so on.
If I may I opine now?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't hear any limits on the magnitude of that gift. And if someone's going to give, let's say $1 million, even though there's a lot of philanthropy out there, I think a lot of times this would expose the district to a gap where people could question if people were buying our schools, a portion of the physical property, and does that sort of reduce that equitable ownership by the citizenry? So this is what caught my attention, and my personal opinion as just one of 11 is that this is one that I think needs to have a little bit more control over our physical assets.
Yes, sir. So this one really aligns with Administrative Rule E6, because if there were, for example, a $500,000 scoreboard that was going to be donated to a school, and there was a group that was funding it, that donation would have to come before the board, but comes to the superintendent or his designee first. And if that amount is over $5,000, it would go to the board. So an amount, a physical asset that would be donated would have to come before the board, not only in monetary, but in donations, but in the value of an asset would also have to come before the board. And as the board has seen, we had one of those a couple of years ago. And then once that funding is approved, then the modification to the facility or the grounds could occur with approval of the chief operations officer once the funding has gone through approval of the board. So I feel that we have a safeguard in that we have both approvals that must take place if a physical asset is donated to a school district. But I'll yield to the chair and the membership to discuss if we need to modify this in any way. But I think that worked very well with the scoreboard at Battery Creek High School as an example. We did not move forward with approval. In fact, the chief operations officer halted it until that approval was made by the board, because there are ongoing maintenance costs, which were concerns of the board. And as far as electricity and ongoing maintenance and that sort of thing. So there were other elements involving that kind of asset. So I can understand your concerns. I think those two have to align together as we go forward with anything over $1,000 or $5,000. So.
Okay, then if I may just submit one last question. Should we have any type of language that says the donor relinquishes control of the asset that they funded? Is that clear in what's currently written?
In item 5C4, it says, unless the chief operations officer specifically agrees in advance, such projects must adhere to the following: provide the BCSD with full and complete ownership and control of the result of the modification and construction.
Okay, all right.
So I think we've covered that. What we could do is to reference E6, and that the funding would have to have approval before any major construction was done, anything over $5,000.
That will make me feel a lot more comfortable.
Okay.
And any other comments, guidance, questions? Okay, moving right along, Madam CFO.
Okay, OS 11 inventory. This was submitted by Ms. Matson, who is not able to be here today, regarding inventory. She is very in tune with federal programs and often needs just slight modifications to our policies to make sure we're aligned with federal and state policies. So we're updating OS 11 to correspond with the South Carolina State Department of Education's procedures for keeping inventory on items paid with federal funds. So there are very strict requirements for items paid. I think it's over $250 with federal funding. So they have to keep separate inventories for even very small items. This process is in addition to the district's fixed asset process. We have our own policies in the Finance Policies and Procedures Manual. It only applies to the following criteria. If it's purchased with a federal fund, not just Title I, it could be IDEA or any other Perkins, any other federal fund. Item has a life expectancy greater than 1 year, and the item cost is over the state's threshold amount, which is currently updated from $200 to $2,500. It applies to technology items such as tablets, laptops, and printers that are below the threshold. So not only those items that are $2,500, but laptops and tablets and electronic items must be included as well, which the district keeps an inventory in what's formerly called Destiny software. That would be, we have an inventory system of tagging in that system to track all of those devices, which are considered to be some of the more at-risk assets that we have because they're small, and have a lot of value. So this OS just adds the non-discrimination clause, but also just modifies the last paragraph and to include that physical inventory listing must be maintained for non-consumable items having more than 1 year of life expectancy and are purchased with federal funds that exceed the SDE approved cost threshold. And it states that the tablets and monitors and electronic devices must be included even if they fall below that $2,500 threshold. So that language just needed to be inserted into this administrative rule so that we're in compliance with the State Department of Education's requirements. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions, comments, insights? I have none, ma'am.
No vote required on that. It is for information only, so we'll update that. And then if you're ready to move on, we'll move to SS 42.
I am, if the rest of the team is.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Move on. Thank you, Ms. A.
All right. Unlike the previous administrative rules, this one is a little different. This is actually the wellness policy for the school district, which you have seen before. We actually approved it in June with some modifications. The State Department of Education came back with additional changes, which I didn't quite understand, but I reached out to a colleague in Fort Mill, a director of nutrition, and she directed me to their director of nutrition. And she helped me to design, to author this, make modifications in our policy that complied with the State Department of Education. So this policy is actually required to be approved by the board. So, I'm kind of draw a parallel between this and the MBE utilization plan. The Minority Women Business Enterprise is an administrative rule, but it does require board approval from the procurement code. So sort of like that, this is an administrative rule, which is a district policy, but it is required by the State Department Office of Health and Nutrition to be approved by the board, which we have not done before. So we moved forward with modifications, but never had approved the policy. So, and by the way, school nutrition has the most bureaucratic policies and procedures of any funding source that we deal with. And it is now, due to CEP, the Community Eligibility Program, it is almost entirely federally funded, and that's probably why.
Yeah.
So just want to highlight, I have about 7 areas that were modified. A couple of them are the same in that there were references to, well, first of all, I will start with the first one. The first change relates to 4.h, and this was actually brought up by our school dietitian, district dietitian for the nutrition group, and our PE coordinator, Emily Gray and Colleen Boulware. They went to a seminar and indicated that districts were adding language to prohibit Uber Eats and other delivery services for food to come during lunch and meal periods. So they felt like it was important that we add language to prohibit delivery services for the purposes of obtaining lunch or breakfast in the school district. So in section 4.h, you'll see some wording added to include that there would be no, they would not be able to receive food delivery, and that's on page 2 in blue. Okay, so the next section relates to, which is 4.j.1. And that is on page 2, the bottom of page 2. We removed a reference based on State Department requests to reference standards for food made available but not sold. So that would be like the smart snacks in schools. It relates to the smart snacks in schools. We already have a standard for that, and that's requesting that we're not bringing cupcakes for every child's birthday. Those are provided, but they're not actually sold. They're given for free, or and that the state, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's requirements are that we offer school snacks that are smart snack compliant. And so we don't need the references to anything relating to foods sold, made available but not sold, because we have SS 42E, which details all of that in the smart snack standards. So this just removes additional duplicate language that is unnecessary. In section 3, we needed to clarify that the 5 fundraisers that we're exempting per year per school that don't have to meet those smart snack compliance are actually one-day fundraisers. They're not all year long, you know, like a month-long fundraiser or something like that. So we had to be more specific on that. And then again, in number 4, it's basically the same thing as item number 2. We had to remove references to food served but not sold. Then number 5, we had language in the policy that referenced that we would send home paper menus. That has not occurred in years, and so they're all electronic now. We have an app basis. So we changed this section of the policy to reflect that notifications would be made through the website as well as through our digital dining app, which is called NutraSlice. So both, so notifications for, sorry, I think I was skipping ahead a little bit. No, that was number 6. The paper menus were on item number 6. Item number 5 was to modify this to state that the notifications of any wellness committee meetings or other major changes would be notified on the state website and through public social media. So those are all of the changes that are in this policy. I wanted to give a few updates on the wellness program, but I'm going to stop there and pause to ask if you have any questions on those changes first.
Ms. Hay?
I do not. She explained them very well. Thank you, Mrs. Crosby.
Ms. Frazier?
Just a question about the fundraising. The changes are you can only fundraise for a day and you cannot sell food products. Or did I misunderstand?
The fundraiser, the exempt fundraisers are that if you are selling food to fundraise, for example, chocolate or donuts, that you cannot do it all week, five days a week. It would be a 1 day fundraiser that would be eligible to be exempt from the smart snack requirements.
Oh boy. Because fundraising with donuts and things like that, they normally advertise and get sales over a long period of time, because just doing it from 1 day, I can see distribution in a 1 day.
Yes. It's the distribution. It's the part about the students consuming the donut during lunch and not allowing that consumption to happen every single day, but to happen 1 day. So the collection of the funds could be over multiple days.
But the distribution down to 1. Okay. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, any others? Questions, comments?
Chair.
Mr. Smith, did you say something?
Now, I was going to say, I've definitely had some parents have reached out about our food program and different things, and that probably would be something good to discuss sooner or later as well.
Okay.
Food nutrition is on the February OE schedule.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, is Colonel Guy there?
There was a notification today about a vendor at Shanklin Elementary being told that he could no longer provide to you. I assume that this comes out of this regulation. Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware of that. They are required to request an exemption for a fundraiser. So if they have, say, a food truck or something come 1 day, then they have to have a 1 day exemption for that to be exempt so that they're not serving that. I don't know if that's what it's about.
I guess how would we follow up on that, Madam CFO? With that?
Now, is that a food related vendor? It doesn't say that. It doesn't seem to say that. So I'll follow up on that with the principal.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Rivera, I'll call Ms. Rivera.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments?
I did want to just give you some program updates on the wellness program. We requested a wellness champion be identified for each school. So we have a list of those at the district office. Wellness activities are actively being tracked and communicated by schools. I personally updated the website. It was outdated. The school nutrition website that relate and all the wellness policy information is there. That has been updated. And the district dash, there's a section called nutrition and fitness. The district dash 5K is scheduled, is on that website and is scheduled for May 9th at Coligny Beach, Hilton Head Island. Registration is open and available on that website. And if you want to click here on the link there, this report will take you directly to that. And that is one wellness initiative that we are looking to add, and every school district will be, every school in the district will be able to benefit from that. So we're making some headway on wellness, making some really focusing in our efforts on various things. And really pushing that at the school levels and looking at some things at the district office level as well. So just that's all I have. I have a recommended motion at the bottom of the report for potential for the board's, if the board's pleasure.
Ms. Hay, if you are in agreement, would you move on the recommended motion, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Do I need to read it?
Yes, ma'am.
I will read it. Hold on. My screen just moved. There we go. I move that the Finance Committee recommend to the full board the approval of the Beaufort County School District Wellness Policy SS-42 as presented.
Okay, properly moved. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Oh, do you need to second it?
Oh, yeah, I do need second. Sorry. I second it.
That's okay.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Well done. Well done, Ms. Crosby and your team. Thank you, Ms. Hay. Any other comments? Any other items, Ms. Crosby?
Just future topics.
Okay.
I do have a few. So in addition to the Board of Ed budget, we'll have the transparency report. We will have the an audit presentation at the next Finance Committee meeting. And that is in accordance with OE 6.1 through 6.8. We will have a cost center report as we did last December as well. So we'll do that for fiscal year 25. And we have OS 18 that we need to update. And I believe we're going to bring a proposed budget calendar to that meeting as well. So we already have a full agenda before we even start.
And an audit in the interim.
Yes.
And I'd like to ask if we could move the Finance Committee. So our board meeting in December is December 9th. And our regularly scheduled Finance Committee would meet on the 11th. So I'm proposing that we move the meeting to the 4th, if that is okay. That would be the Thursday prior to at 1:30.
Ms. Crosby, does that give you and your team enough space to capture all the month-end data of the prior month?
I think so. We'll do our best.
Okay.
That means the documents will be due the day after we get back from Thanksgiving. So, okay.
Is that too much compression?
If it is, I'll drop a few items off and push them to the next month.
Ms. Hay, are you okay with that?
Absolutely. I was just thinking, I was going to ask Ms. Crosby if an extra day helped if we were to do it Friday instead of, I think Friday the 5th instead of the 4th. I didn't know if an extra day would help.
And also just let you know that Friday, the 5th and the 6th, board members are leaving to head to Charleston for the legislative
Oh, that's
delegation
right.
in Charleston.
Okay. So Ms. Crosby, what works best for you and your team in terms of accuracy and completeness of the document?
1st and 5th at 1.
I'd rather probably just keep it on the 4th, and we'll bring, if there are any items that we can't get to, we will shift them to the next meeting. Yeah.
Okay, everybody okay with that? Ms. Hay, I
Yes,
think you
sir.
are. All right, anyone else have any concerns about that? Hearing none, is there any other presentation, Ms. Crosby?
Yes, sir.
Any comments for the good of the order from anyone else? Okay, it is 3:04. And so with that, we will adjourn.